life is fascinating. We even wish to understand what it means without masking it with all our philosophies, cultural traditions and patterns of behavior and so on. We don't know the origin of life. It seems to be a contradiction in terms to say life comes to an end. If it is life, it will not come to an end. Right? Energy cannot come to an end. It can change its form. Let it change its form. There is no problem. Something that is subtler than any form of matter cannot come to an end. According to modern science, even matter does not really come to an end. It can change its form. We don't know its origin because we start thinking about life much later than the origin of life. In other words, you are alive before you start inquiring into all this. But without understanding life, life becomes meaningless. Without knowing the meaning of life, life becomes meaningless. And in order to make it meaningful, we introduce all sorts of artificial definitions for life. And so the sage inquires into the nature of life. And if we do not know the origin of life, can't she have a chair? Would you like to have a chair? Yes, sure. In order to understand life, the sage or the yogi points out that never mind the so-called original beginning of life. There is a beginning which you can investigate. There is life every day, and life commences every day. And you can investigate that. If you can find out the meaning of this life commencing every day, you have probably understood also at the same time how life must have commenced on a different dimension at a different time. There is a rather interesting, intriguing and challenging theory that in all the three states of consciousness that we are aware of and through which we pass every day, these three states prevail all the time. What are the three? Waking, dreaming and sleep. If you consider this without getting hung up on some sort of psychological theory or philosophy, you suddenly realize that it may be true. How? When you are fast asleep, the other two states, which are waking and dreaming, are also present. You are awake at a certain level. at what may be called visceral level. The internal organs are functioning, they are awake. If when you go to sleep, the heart also goes to sleep, that's it. Or the lungs go to sleep, that's it. Strangely enough, even though we associate sleep with a state of total inertia of the brain is not totally inert. So that at the visceral level, gut level, you are responding to external stimulus or internal stimulus. I don't know what. At that level you are awake. Okay, that's granted. Two things are granted now. Sleep, yes, that person is fast asleep, in deep sleep. Two, that there is some sort of awareness or wakefulness somewhere. But what about dream? Now comes the yogi's challenging declaration, which cannot be proved or disproved. It's very clever. You are dreaming that you don't know anything. A person who is fast asleep dreams that he doesn't know anything. How can you say that? Because when he wakes up, he is a genius. When he wakes up, he is a genius. And yet, when he is fast asleep, he dreams that he doesn't know anything. So, at one level, he is fast asleep. At another level, he dreams that he knows nothing. And at a third level, he is awake. He responds to heat and cold and all sorts of other things. Right. When you are dreaming, what happens? When you are dreaming, you are asleep. That's why you are dreaming. Therefore, at one stage, one level, you are asleep. That means you are not conscious of your environments. You are perhaps not even conscious of the state of your body, of where you are, the physical environment. And you are dreaming. That's obvious. How are you awake? In that dream, you are awake in the sense you are not aware that you are dreaming. That seems to be completely real. So there again, at one stage, one level, you are sleeping. At another level, you are dreaming. At a third level, you are fully awake. Fully awake as a dreamer, in dream. But now, suddenly you are tempted to challenge that now, right now, we are entirely awake and we cannot be dreaming or sleeping. Wait a moment. This is also doubtful. Why? You are completely unconscious of what you are in truth. So at that level, you are fast asleep. There is no self-knowledge. At that level, you are fast asleep. Then you think we are all awake. So, okay, wakefulness is granted. But dream? Much of what you and I are seeing may be just dream. A lot of what you and I are seeing is dream. But because of a confused awareness that we are awake, we confuse the dream to be a sort of reality. Yeah. Who is she? An orange person. Narayan. You see the confusion there. Is she an orange or a person? She can't be both. That much is certain. Orange juice. But what do you do with this orange person? And yet that seems to be quite real to us. That's a dream. And now Vasistha goes on to say that this is how life flows apparently, not really, into a field of darkness, creating confusion, creating delusion, and creating what may be called illusion. Illusion is not something which does not exist. Illusion is only a psychological corruption, confusion. And if we understand that, we will also probably understand the exact meaning of life, what it is all about. Enlightenment is not a certain state where you negate all these and somehow jump into something else, but clearly understanding all these itself is enlightenment. That is, if that corner is dark, which means there is darkness in that corner, you don't have to switch on the light and then ask the darkness to go away. Switching on this light and the dispelling of the darkness are simultaneous. So, if you can even understand confusion with total clarity, it's no longer a confusion. Right? If you understand confusion with total clarity, it is no longer a confusion. And you see, and this is the beauty of the Yoga-Vasistha doctrine, you see, without disturbing anything in life, a transmutation is brought about in life. And suddenly you realize enlightenment is not a cloak to be worn in a certain color. Enlightenment is not a matter of shaving one's head or flourishing a beard. Enlightenment is none of these. Perhaps suddenly you realize that there was no darkness, there was no ignorance, there was never an illusion. How is this? Now again, our problem, how is this reached as if it was out there and you have to leave this place and go and get it there? Unfortunately, we are made that way. And the travel agents make sure that this illusion is kept up. That's their trade. You know the fun. Have you ever seen people who have, especially middle-aged people, who have been on a holiday to Hawaii or some other, Hong Kong, or after studying all these lovely brochures which explain to them what a paradise those places are, 10 days before they travel, they are running around here and there, getting injections and this and that, what have you, tickets and travelers checks, and packing, and finishing up the last minute arrangements. That's not in any way relaxing. And travel is not very relaxing. Going through the queues here, getting frisked and opening the bag and closing it, checking for guns and drugs. And you stay screwed up in the bucket seat, and you are being entertained with some kind of magic show there. Open your eyes, there is a show here. Well, you want to sit there and watch. Oh, they give us a cinema on board. No, that's a great thing. And then comes duty-free liquor. Just because probably, I don't know the economics of it. Just because it is about 25 cents cheaper, you go on drinking. 4 times the amount you would have drunk normally. Then you get down at the other airport, again the customs formalities, the passport formalities, get into a taxi, get to the hotel and check in and check out. And then after this week or 10 days or whatever it is, you come back so tired. Come back home so tired. It is then that you have perfect relaxation. Your bed seems to be the heavenest heaven on earth. But only because of this. Before that it was useless. Before you left on your holiday, it's a dreadful place to live in. So, that is precisely what happens in enlightenment. You give up this thing, you renounce your home, you divorce your husband or your wife, you run away from your parents or your children, all that. And then eventually you go to the great master and sit at his feet and drink the forget the metaphor. Drink the pearls of wisdom that drop from his lips. And then he says, see God in your father, see God in your mother, see God in your husband, see God in your wife, see God in your children. Go back home. Though I may appear to be joking, it's quite serious. Long ago, Swami Shivananda, my guru, was looking over our shoulders as we were very busy working in the office, typing and writing and doing all sorts of things. And I was sitting almost close to him. I looked up. Does he want to say something? And he kept looking. I said, oh, you were doing all this when you were working in Delhi. Yes, all of us had some job or something before we joined the ashram. We gave up those jobs and went to the ashram. Why couldn't you do this there and stay there? Why did you have to come here? I had no answer. Because in a manner of in truth, we were more busy in the ashram than we were at our work in Delhi or Bombay or somewhere else. Working longer hours for lesser privileges. Couldn't she have done this, whatever it is called karma yoga, staying there? Why did you have to come here and do all this again? I kept quiet, waiting for an answer. And he himself provided the answer. It is here you gain the key to this, the secret of how to turn all action into something other than mere humdrum existence. Enlightenment does not mean a formal or outward change. It's a complete and total change of nothing. But your innermost spirit or attitude, and that's why it's called spiritual life. Nothing changes. But everything undergoes a tremendous change. Is it possible for us to understand life in all its aspects? Is it possible for us to be very clear about the misunderstandings that we have concerning life? And that clarity itself will remove the misunderstanding, leaving everything as it is, but thenceforward nothing will be the same again. That's the beauty. So let's go back to this sleeping fellow. From one point of view, the person in deep sleep, when you are in deep sleep, you are in a state of ignorance. But from another point of view, that is perfection itself. Why? Because in that state of deep sleep, there is no division. There is no you, there is no me, there is no he, there is no she. There is a total suspension of the awareness of duality. And it is the awareness of duality that gives rise in its own time to attraction, repulsion, all sorts of hate, love, fear, anxiety. In oneness there is no anxiety, there is no fear, there is no love, there is no hate, and that is supreme love. Now, therefore, in most of these scriptures, samadhi or superconscious state or satori or enlightenment is described as sleepless sleep. Can you remove that sleep, and can you remove the dream of sleep and allow that pure visceral awareness to function? Then you are enlightened. Vasistha in the Yoga-Vasistha says again and again and again that the sage lives a dynamic, full, active life, but as if in deep sleep. Please don't think about it, because the mind cannot think about it. You are not in that state of consciousness. Unless you are in that state of consciousness, the mind cannot possibly conjure up what it is to be enlightened. But it is good to bear this in mind, that to live like a person who is fast asleep and yet who is able to see, who is able to hear, who is able to function, who is able to live a full dynamic life, that is what is wanted. And I don't know if you believe that we are all the crown of God's creation. I am very doubtful. And I don't think that this God who created us had the least confidence in us. The reason why the most vital functions of even the physical body have been kept out of the reach of the mind and the ego. And as perhaps most doctors and nurses might tell you, it is during your deep sleep that the best part of the repair work goes on. It is in deep sleep that you rejuvenate yourself, regain lost energy. From where, we don't know. We have no idea. That's a very high state. Unfortunately, we can't remain in that state forever and ever and ever, even if we get stoned on some kind of drug. And so we are dangling like a pendulum. That deep sleep state is an indicator of the possibility of a homogeneous consciousness in which there is no division. In that state, everything functions naturally. To us, it's almost supernatural. That visceral action is true life, where we don't interfere with one another, where we work in harmony without even using the word we, without even allowing this we consciousness to arise in our minds. Completely and totally one, without even a consciousness of a oneness, which might give rise to divisions. It's an impossible thing to describe. Then follow your own daily life as you wake up in the morning. It's a bit tight, huh? You are not fully awake. You're just coming out of sleep into waking consciousness. The first thing you are aware of is either the dress or the blanket touching you. You are not even aware of the blanket as blanket, but you are aware that you are experiencing a sensation of heat, cold, pressure. That is where, strangely enough, consciousness tries to become aware of itself. How does this happen? We don't know. Consciousness becoming aware of itself. If it is possible to live at that point, in that consciousness throughout the day, then it is possible that all our actions will be wise. Does it make sense to you? That is, you are aware of your own sensations. You are not like in a state of deep sleep. That is the state of enlightenment. But you are aware of your own sensations. You avoid something which gives you pain. You welcome something which gives you comfort. You are aware of your own happiness, unhappiness, fear, anxiety, all these things within yourself. And being aware of those sensations, you respond appropriately to each situation. Right? It's not the total at one moment.